Rapscast episode 9. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's Jacob Mann. I'm here in the studio. Over there's my buddy Kyle, and we are ready to bring you people what you need. It's all things Raptors right here, right now. Kyle, say hello to the people out there.
What's up, Jacoby? What's up, everybody? We're having a good week. I was a little sick this week, but I'm back for Rapscast. You know why?
Because the people need it.
The people need it, and we need it.
That's right, man.
So let's jump into the show.
Here we go.
We're going around the league, Jacoby. Tell me what's up.
Well, the biggest thing in the league this week for Americans and Canadians alike, Steve Nash, the Canadian Cobra himself, retiring from the NBA. And what I want to know from you, Kyle, is even in the discussion, even in the debate, can you make a real case for Steve Nash as the best Canadian athlete in the four major sports in the history of Canadian athletics?
Yes. I think he belongs in the discussion. I know I'm not a big hockey guy. Everybody's going to hate that. But what he's done for basketball is unbelievable for Canadians, right? We've had a long history, a long tradition of great Canadian hockey players. We're only talking about the four major league sports right now. But Steve Nash was the first. One of the first Canadian players, I think the first Canadian player drafted in the first round, the first to get an MVP, got two of them. And he really put us on the map. Yeah. People like Andrew Wiggins wouldn't be here if there's Steve Nash. People like Anthony Bennett. People don't like him, whatever. That's their own beef. Kelly Olynyk. None of these people would be in the league if they didn't grow up watching Steve Nash. Because we grew up in a country that there was no one. There was no role models. People from Canada didn't go here. And he was just a trendsetter. So even if he didn't win a championship, even if he didn't win so many MVP awards, even if he didn't go to the All-Star game as much as he did, he's in the conversation, but he has such a strong case because he's not only such a trendsetter, but he was such a force in the league in his prime. I mean, I remember when I was young watching him on the Suns with Amare. That was just amazing basketball to watch. Really entertaining for the fans. 7-second basketball, Jacoby. Tell me what you think.
I think he definitely deserves to be in the discussion. I don't even think... I mean, regardless of guys in other sports, if you just look at Steve Nash and the next Canadian behind him in the basketball world, like it's not even close, right? And more so than just the accolades and the MVPs and what he's done in the league, if you actually just watch the game, what he did for the point guard position in the NBA, he made passing the ball cool again. He made point guards covet the averaging 10 assists type of game. He made it cool to make your teammates score the ball and to play a team-first type of game at a time when it was really fading away from that, when the Allen Iverson type of game was really dominating the league. And Steve Nash really brought the whole passing team game, beautiful basketball back to the league. And I think a lot of guys wouldn't really be around today. You look at Steph Curry and the way he plays the game, the way he comes off screens and slings passes with both hands and looks for the jump shot over top of screens. Like that is a direct effect of having Steve Nash in the NBA winning 2 MVPs, and good on the league to give him those MVPs and to tell people that this is the way the game has to be played today, and this is what we're going to reward as and what we're going to think is good basketball. Steve Nash, to me, boy, it's hard to put him ahead of legends like Gretzky or Lemieux or even Maurice Richard, but boy, as far as basketball goes, I mean, I don't think we're ever going to get as good as Steve Nash. I mean, a 2-time MVP and just someone who revolutionized the game, frankly.
No, I completely agree, and I didn't even speak about how much he was a trendsetter within the NBA, too. And that's a good point that you brought up. He really changed, as you said. He brought playing team-first basketball. He made that cool again. And if you think about it, he is probably the best, or if not one of the best, of pick-and-roll basketball playing point guards in the league.
Well, he brought back the trend. I mean, he was unstoppable with Amare in Phoenix.
Yeah, that's a really good point. He made pick-and-roll basketball very cool. It was great to watch him. Jacoby, let's jump into quick predicts. So this week, I think we're going to change it up. We're doing something different, right?
Yeah, we're switching it up on these fans. You don't want to stay the same too long.
Yeah. So this week, we're doing kind of like a lightning round. We each prepared like 10, 15 questions, something like that. They're just yes-no questions. I'm going to read them to you. You're going to say yes, no, move on as fast as you can. No explanations. I just want an answer, okay?
Gotcha.
Ready?
Yes.
So they're all yes, no. I'm just going to read them yes, no.
Okay.
So, let's start. Lou Williams is going to be a weapon in the playoffs.
Yes.
Lou Williams is going to be a disappointment in the playoffs.
Yes.
That's great. JV is going to average a double-double in the first round of the playoffs.
No.
Raptors finish first in the Atlantic Division.
Yes.
Raptors finish fourth in the Eastern Conference.
Yes.
Raptors finish third in the Eastern Conference.
Yes.
Raptors finish second in the Eastern Conference.
Yes.
You can't say yes to all of them.
They finish fourth.
Raptors lose in the first round. Quick.
Yes.
Raptors lose in the second round.
Not applicable.
Yeah, the Raptors lose in the conference finals.
Not applicable.
Raptors lose in the finals.
Yes.
Raptors win the World Championships. Canada is so proud, they steal Lord Stanley's Cup, and they engrave the entire Raptors team on the trophy, and then secretly give it to them for an entire year.
God bless you, Kyle. I wish.
Last one.
Yep.
Dwayne Casey gets fired at the end of the season.
No.
Okay, your turn.
Woo! Okay. Will Amir Johnson retire a Raptor?
Yes.
Will Kyle Lowry ever be an All-Star again?
Yes.
Are the Raptors going to get out of the first round?
No.
Does Dwayne Casey coach the Raptors through next year?
No.
Can DeMar DeRozan be the best player on a contending team?
That's a tough one. No.
Are the Raps handling Bruno properly?
Yes.
Does We the North stick for 2 more years?
Yes.
Will the Raps sign a top 5 NBA talent in the next 5 to 10 years?
No.
This one's not a yes or no. Here, I'm going to reformat this one. In the next 10 years, will we see an NBA team anywhere else in Canada, Vancouver, Montreal, wherever?
No.
Does JV ever average 20 and 10 in a season?
Yes.
Do you like Drake?
Love him.
All right, that's the end of my quick fire round. We hope you enjoyed that, guys. Some yes or no questions for me and Kyle over here.
That was fun. That was a change.
That was a lot of fun. We should bring that back.
Yeah, we'll bring it back.
Every other
Rework it.
episode.
We're a bit sloppy, but you know what? We'll do it. I
We'll
liked it. It
get
was
our
fun.
shit done. All right,
Yeah.
man.
So let's jump the break.
Yeah, with that, we go to a break. We'll see you on the other side. Don't touch that dial.
Lean forward slightly. Look straight at the speaker. And listen with a sparkle in your eye. As though you might be thinking, gee, this is the most wonderful thing I ever heard in all my life.
Welcome back, Rapscast fans. We're jumping into the starting 5.
Yep, here we go.
Let's do it. So, Kyle Lowry, he went out against the Pistons. He didn't play against Chicago. What's going on, Jacoby?
Well, the Raptors fans don't need me to tell them that this is pretty devastating. The Raptors already were looking like they were going to play their worst basketball coming into playoff time, and now losing their leader to what we now know is an indefinite timetable. It's going to hurt the Raptors quite a bit. It's going to be tough for them to play any serious opponent in the first round and even have a fighting chance without Kyle. Very disappointing news for Raptors fans all across Canada. I mean, our best player's out. What else is there to say? We're going to be seriously hurt by this come playoff time. The news couldn't be worse, Kyle.
Yeah, he's out indefinitely. He's having back problems. I'm hoping that this is just he needs 1 or 2 games off, and then they'll give him maybe an extra 2 games off for rest, so he can come in fresh into the playoffs. That's what I'm hoping. Worst comes to worst, it could be a lot worse than that. The problem is, we've seen that this team really falls apart without Kyle Lowry. We're not playing our best basketball of the season. We peaked early. We peaked too soon, Jacoby.
We peaked way too soon. We just came out of the gate peaking.
Yeah, we came out of the gate peaking, as you said, and we are playing mediocre at best basketball. Okay, we're the only franchise that our franchise has never even had 50 wins.
Yeah,
the only one in the NBA.
Wow.
So that's really a testament of our poor management, but it's definitely not going to happen.
It's probably
this
not going to done this year. I was just
Yeah.
going to say, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably not happening.
Throw an
this
extra
year.
year onto that streak. Yeah,
It's a really bad sign for the playoffs. Without him, we have no chance.
exactly.
I mean, this is a team that really just relies on him to play out of his mind every night, and when he can't, we lose.
And
Simple
now
as
he's
that.
out of his jersey and in a suit.
Yeah, really tough to see. My favorite player in the league. I hope he comes back soon.
Me too.
I miss him.
Boy, the Raps are going to need him.
So let's talk about JV.
Yeah.
We're a little late
This is
on
a
this
fun
one.
topic, though.
Yeah, we're a little late on this one, but Jonas Valanciunas had a baby boy recently, and ever since then, he's been just playing really well. And it's kind of a common theme among the Raptors. I mean, Kyle Lowry had a family, and he matured a lot, had that great season last year.
DeMar did the same thing.
DeMar did the same thing. Terrence Ross had a son this year.
No way.
Yeah. So, you think there's something behind that?
Yeah, just poor contraception in Toronto, I guess. No, I'm just kidding. Do I think there's something behind that? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if I was an NBA player, I'd consider retiring before having any children. I mean, it seems like an added responsibility to, an already jam-packed playing schedule. But congratulations to Jonas and Jonas Jr. That's a very cute name.
Yeah. He's kind of young to be a father. He's only a year older than you, Jacoby.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Imagine you had a kid.
Exactly.
How'd you do? We're both way too immature.
Not well. First of all, I don't have the contract that Jonas is playing on, so putting food on the table
we don't have
would
the
prove
money.
to be a struggle.
We don't have the skills to be a parent.
And of course, the resources. They're not going to fly my kid out to any city to come watch me play or whatever. You know what I mean? I don't get the benefits that a Raptor player gets, having Masai Ujiri look, back him up.
Okay, but on the basketball side of this, and this is why I've wanted to talk about this in the podcast, is I think there is something to having a kid in basketball. And, having a kid, this isn't just a generalization. I'm just talking about the Raptors and who's a father. They're mature people. I mean, it really forced Kyle Lowry to grow up, get a level head. Same thing with DeMar. Really try to be the best player they could be, because now they have a family to support, and that's what they got to do. And, JV is playing a really good game ever since he had a son. I'm not saying it's directly because he had a son. It's probably a coincidence.
No, I don't think it's a coincidence. It's definitely tied in. He's
Probably.
not just playing for himself anymore, man.
You're right.
He's got himself a
I think
baby.
there's something to it. I think it makes them more mature. And the Raptors are a team that, if you look at them, a lot of them are parents. A lot of them, they're family-centered people. They treat their teammates, the Raptors organization, like a close-knit family. They're all great friends. They go out for dinner. And they're all parents. And there's something behind that, something behind the chemistry of that is what is making the Raptors work well. So, anyways, that's just my little theory.
So it's easier to bond with your buddy when you have.
I'm not saying that's why
when you have little buddies who can be buddies.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's kind of nice that the Raptors have that family camaraderie that is kind of rare in most NBA teams, and they're really tight knit, and there must be something there.
Yeah, it definitely helps more than it hurts.
It helps, and it brings just a sense of maturity.
For sure.
And hey, he's playing well. I'm happy, and I'm happy he has a kid. Good for him.
Yeah.
Congrats. So let's talk about Lou Williams, your favorite, most hated player on the Raptors. Did I say that right?
My favorite, most hated? Something along those lines.
Something like that. You like to hate him, you like to love him.
The easiest guy to hate, yeah.
Yeah. So Lou Will against the Detroit Pistons, last play of the game, just chucked up, the most stereotypical Lou Will shot I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That 28-footer.
Right to left crossover, no setup. Just
there was no play going on.
chuck it out.
What was it that, Jacoby?
Well, Lou Williams loves going right to left. I've seen him hit that shot quite a bit. He loves the big, head fake right to left crossover, and he pulls up, and he just barely follows through. He just sort of chucks it, and sometimes it tends to go through the net and look beautiful, but
most of the time it doesn't.
Most of the time it doesn't, but the thing is, Dwayne Casey didn't call a timeout. They got the ball left. They had about 7 seconds left on the clock. They could have called a timeout, advanced the ball, drawn something up, and really gotten the shot they really planned for. But I think Casey liked the idea of the spontaneity, if that's a word, the spontaneousness of Lou Williams just taking that ball up court and going for the win. What I thought was a little ridiculous. I'd like to see him try and get by his defender and try to hit a 2 or at least get fouled and use free throws to ice the game. I think going for the win with a 3 when you're only down 2 was a little unnecessary, and I didn't think he had to go that big to try and win the game for the Raps. I mean, look, that game, they barely deserved to be in it at the end. They were getting their asses handed to them by Detroit from the first half, and they just were able to fight back. But, man, they didn't deserve that win, in my opinion. So that's why the shot didn't fall.
I agree. It really just showed a disconnect on, between Casey and Lou Williams. I know Casey has his guys, and he just lets those guys play as he wants to. But he should have called a timeout. And there's just no way around it. I mean, there's no excuse. That was a winnable circumstance.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 coaches, except for Casey being an outlier, would take the timeout there, make sure the team understand what's going on. Even if he just sees, their first pick didn't set, call the team, just make sure, get in their head, make sure they each know they have an objective, make sure they each know the play, rather than let them go and play street ball.
Yeah,
there was no play.
Yeah, true. But the only difference between genius and insanity is success, some might say. And so if that shot falls, Kyle, are we praising Casey for the genius move of not calling a timeout because he sprung it on them like they weren't expecting that shot? Like, if that shot falls...
But he never even called for that shot.
That's what I mean. But he did call for somebody to improvise when he didn't call a timeout. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So he made that call, and should the shot fall, we might be talking right now about how that was a great move by Casey to not call a timeout and let Detroit get into their defense.
But you know what? It didn't.
It didn't, exactly.
It didn't. And now we're criticizing him, and it's well deserved. It seems like he just doesn't have the team on the same page, and it seems like he's not calling the right plays. And I guess this is actually just a good segue into our next topic for starting five. We're talking about, is Casey going to be our head coach the next offseason and after this year? So I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think the back half of our offseason has just been terrible. We've been relatively healthy. I mean, healthier than the first half, and we've been playing below par, below expectations. It seems we're going to be doing worse than last year. And, sometimes the coach is a scapegoat, but I think in this circumstance, it's kind of well deserved. I mean,
I'd have to agree.
It doesn't look like he has control of the team.
I think his message is getting stale. I just think his shtick is getting stale. The players aren't as moved by what he used to do as they are,
I agree.
Just doesn't get through to them
It
anymore.
doesn't look like there's an organized system of basketball. It doesn't look like he's forcing them to work hard. It doesn't look like they work as hard as they used to last year. And the truth is, we're not going to finish with as good of a record as we did last year. There's a very realistic chance that we might not make it out of the first round again.
Mm-hmm.
And, another good thing Masai Ujiri did on his extension, really Casey's contract is 2 years and a team option. So if he cuts him out 1 year early, that's all right.
It's affordable.
It's affordable. I mean, we know that this team has enough in it. There are holes. There are 100% holes. But it has enough in it that under the right system, with the right people coaching, that it could do special things.
You need someone to light a fire under DeMar DeRozan. I don't like the way he acts in his interviews. Frankly, I don't even like what I'm seeing from him at all, and I think that stems from the coach. You need somebody to get this guy to be a leader and to really play team first and to want team wins as much as he wants to breathe. He has to be a franchise player, and right now his attitude just doesn't match up with that type of profile.
I agree. And, I've said so much on this podcast. Wait on Dwayne Casey. I love him. I still love him. I think he's a great coach, and I think he'll be another a head coach again.
Yes.
This won't be his last shot. I think he is a good head coach. It's just, aside from Greg Popovich, coaches are hired to be fired. And, nobody could stay forever because the message gets stale. And it's his time. I think everybody, all the Raptors fans had their Casey breaking point. And mine was against the Pistons, actually.
Mine has just been the streak that just took place.
Yeah. So that's mine. And, I think he'd be a good fit for another team, like a young team. What about Orlando?
Well, I don't know about Orlando, Kyle, but I definitely think he'll have a job next year. If not as a head coach, then as an assistant. I think he's still valuable to an NBA team. I think he's a good motivator, and he's got a good basketball mind. A young team could definitely benefit from his type of, old school, kind of disciplinary, cool, his coaching swag, so to speak. But I don't think it's with Toronto, frankly. I just think his tenure's up, and this, we've maxed out our Dwayne Casey.
I agree, and again, I hope he finds another gig. I really like Orlando Magic. I'm a fan of theirs, and I'd really like to see him in Orlando. He's very good at teaching young players the right way to play basketball, and he has his faults, but he is a very good coach. I hope I see him there. But so the next question, I guess, is if he gets fired, who's your next guy?
Well, geez, that depends who's available. It depends who else gets fired at the end of this year.
Make a call. Speculate.
Speculate. You go first,
okay.
Kyle.
Well, there's been a lot of tension in Chicago between Thibodeau and management for many years, and they're starting to say that this might be the year. They really, really wanted to break out in the East, really have a deep postseason run. And yes, Derrick Rose got injured. That's what happened. But they have enough to make a good postseason run between Gasol, Noah, Jimmy Butler. So if he fails to live up to those expectations, there is a chance that he won't get fired, but he'll be traded in, as many coaches are these days. And I would be more than happy to shell out my first-round pick from this year for Thibodeau.
I would give up the team for Thibodeau. Are you crazy? I think the Bulls would be making the biggest mistake in the history of the franchise to get rid of a guy like that.
They just really hate him.
I don't get. Well, they
know
play
why.
so beautifully.
I don't
They're
know
such
why.
a fantastic
I
team.
agree. But that's my speculation. That's who I would want.
No argument here, man. Tom Thibodeau, come on over. We love you in Toronto, man.
I'll give you the first-round pick this year, the second-round pick the year after that. I'll give you whatever you want.
We just need a coach like that would really put the Raptors
I just
over
want
the top.
a coach. I want an experienced coach that knows how to win, and I want a coach that's defensive first, like Casey, but has a really structured approach to the game. Because that's what I think the Raptors are missing right now.
They need a more ball movement,
They need
Atlanta
more
Hawks
ball
style
movement.
offense.
They need more ball movement, but they just need a lot of structure. Right now, there's on the offensive end, it's kind of just street ball.
They play a lot of ISO for sure.
A lot of ISO, a lot of, set a screen and then just read and go with it.
Or it's just like give it to the guy with the best matchup and let him do work, you know?
Yeah, and I don't like that. I want one of these super coaching teams. So get me a great head coach, a great assistant coach, do whatever you want.
If we could demote
If we could demote Casey, I'd be the happiest
If
guy
we could
in
have
the
Tom Thibodeau with like Tom Sterner and Dwayne Casey assistants, like that's a hot coaching staff, man.
Yes, I agree. That would be the dream. So let's jump onto our last part of the starting five.
Sure.
So we had a shout out this week from Reddit from Nice Kuma asking us, what's the long-term picture? In 4 or 5 years, that's kind of our winning picture. That's the timeline that we kind of have. So how are we going to get farther as a team? And, we can't spend... This is a really big question. We could talk about it for an hour, but we're probably going to talk about it for 5 minutes.
That's what our podcast is about, really.
Yeah. So what are we doing? Just give me a couple things that will put us in the right direction.
Sure. I think we just brushed over it a bit. I think it starts top down. So if you get a coach and a coaching staff that you can really be confident in and that you can give a lot of confidence going forward, a little bit of wiggle room and a little bit of room to make mistakes and, grow together, I think that will have a great effect on any basketball team, frankly. In the NBA, it's an 82-game long season plus playoffs. Like, you're not going to get lucky. You're not going to freestyle your way to being a successful team. Like, the structure's got to be there, and it's got to have longevity, and it's got to be tested and hardened. And I think, definitely having a coaching staff that could just fuel the all-stars that we've got and really get them to play together. It's a question of mentality for me, and I think the coaching staff is where it has to start.
Okay. This is what I think. So as you said, we start with the coaching staff. Fully agree. We need, as we said, a coaching staff that's really going to put a structure. And I really want a coach that will come in because I really think that Jonas Valanciunas is going to be probably the best player on our Raptors roster currently. Give him a couple years. We need to incorporate him into really what people are game planning against. So our next coach, speculating that it happens, has to focus on him. I think instantly we're going to get better once we really bring him into the offensive sets. The next thing is we need to solve our problem at the three. We've seen that putting JJ in the starting lineup has had its problems. T-Ross isn't ready yet. Sorry, everybody. I'm sick.
He's sick, guys. Give him a break.
I'm sick. But I think it would be a mistake because a lot of fans would just say, get an amazing small forward, But getting an amazing small forward is going to want the ball a lot. That's not what we need. We need someone who's, I'm thinking not Luol Deng, but of that type of player. A player who could do everything, that's versatile, can be an all-star, but is really just a team-first guy, does what the team wants, doesn't demand, plays defense, shoots threes. And who I think that person's going to be, I think it's a Nuggets guy because Ujiri, he has those relations. I would love to see Wilson Chandler on the Raptors. I think he'd be a really good fit for us. And he could do all those things, but he's also the type that really just doesn't need to be such a featured player in the offense or defense.
He's an opportunist.
Yeah, and that's who we need because at the core of this team, the ball needs to be shared between three people. That's Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan, and Jonas Valanciunas. So those are two things that I think need to change. Next is the draft. We have a few young guys. We have Lucas, Bebe. That's enough. That's enough projects. So coming this draft, I really think that we're in the 20s in the draft. I think that we got to trade this pick or take someone who's really just NBA ready if they fall. But I think we got to trade this pick. Make that trade for either a guy like Wilson Chandler or a backup center. We're very, very absent at that center. We know if we take Amir back, he's not going to be himself. He's going down. He's kind of our glue guy right now. Get a big guy with that pick. Trade a few assets. Get me a big guy. And really time. time is what we need. I mean, the guy who I mentioned, JV, who I think is going to be the biggest force on our team, he still needs a couple of years. Nice Kuma, he wants to know 4 or 5 years. That's the timeline that JV needs to mature.
Mm-hmm.
Give him 2-3 more years, and he's going to look unstoppable. I hope.
I hope you're right, man. I hope you're right. There's holes in his game right now.
There are holes, but I've seen this season that he could be that player. We've seen
the potential.
He's had a solid month throughout March, where he's pretty much averaging like 15 points and like 12 rebounds, and he just looks like a force.
Mm-hmm.
I know it could happen. It just needs to happen using a different coach, because under Dwayne Casey, he will never become that player. That's the sad truth.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. Coaching change, trade the draft picks, and get just a versatile small three. And let the team mature, because they have what it takes right now. They just need a few fillers. What do you think, Jacoby?
I have to agree. I mean, nothing brings a team together like time playing together and working on what's going wrong. I think the most important thing of anything is the coaching staff, really. I like what I see from the roster. I mean, you look at a backcourt, you look at we have the second unit in the depth that's in the front and the back. Of course, like Amir's got to go in, before 4 or 5 years is up. But, Masai's got cap space at the end of this year, and I'm sure he'll be looking to do something about it. He's a great GM, so I got confidence in him. I think the roster will improve drastically between this and next. I think definitely some key moves are going to get made.
Yeah, well said, Jacoby. Let's jump to break. I need to grab a Halls because I'm sick.
Yeah, boy. All right, we'll be back in a few minutes, and Kyle will be healthier. Stay put. Welcome back. This is Rapscast, but you already knew that. And right now we're going to jump into the last segment of the show, including some parts that people really know and love, some fan favorites, starting with Be a GM. Kyle, what is our Be a GM question this week?
So I was really thinking about this, and it's kind of like an extension of what we were just talking about, but it's when we're building, we're in a point where we just got to do a few minor tweaks on the roster. We have 2 sections of our roster, of our starting 5, that are really just strong. We have our backcourt and Lowry and DeRozan, and we have JV. And the question is, under the Dwayne Casey regime, we've seen, it just seems like you can't have the best of both. So do we want to build around the backcourt, or do we want to build around the front court? Or is there a way we could, find a way to complement all 3 of them?
Well, when you think about it, you're talking about a pure center, a pure point guard, and a pure wing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think if you can put those, I think the small 3 that you were referring to before, DeMar DeRozan can become that.
Yeah.
He can become a player, not necessarily the 3-point shooting, but he can become a player who does, who's like a jack of all trades and does what's needed and just helps his team on all, everywhere on the court. I think we got to build around all 3. If Kyle,
so that's easier said than done.
Of course,
what are we going to do to build around all 3?
Make everyone else on the team besides the 3 of those people really good at playing defense and just shooting the ball.
Okay, is that on our current
sort
roster?
of like the 2 years ago Miami Heat
Is that
model.
on our current roster? We're going to get them to play better, or are we going to bring in new people?
Well, I mean, look, there's going to be a lot of current Raptors are probably looking at their last few games of action right now.
Okay.
So
who are we bringing in? What are we changing to really just find that balance?
Role players that are athletic, that can defend, just more energy from the rest of the squad.
Of course.
You have the 3 go-tos that we just mentioned. The rest of the people need to know what they're doing, and they need to make it as easy as possible on those 3 guys. You got to get guys who can defend on the perimeter, a rim protector when JV's out of the game. You got to get guys who can defend and leave the offense, or at least the bulk of the offense, onto these 3 guys and their creativity.
So give me just in the starting 5. We know those 3. These are our core.
Mm-hmm.
Who are the other 2? Either are they on our roster? Are they in free agency? Give me a few names. Who and why?
I think a future Terrence Ross could play the small forward position for the Raptors. I know his development's been slow, but he's got the body for it, and his defense is getting better, and he's got the athleticism. He can shoot. Like, you look at it on paper, the skills are there. You check the boxes off, but I mean, right now we're not seeing it from him, which makes me a little hesitant. But I think he can grow into being a good small forward in the NBA who can play on both ends pretty well.
Okay, I think the obvious answer is we got to build a way to complement all 3. That's definitely the best way. But the thing is, it's harder to actually do than just to talk about it in a podcast. So this is where I would start. I said before, get a guy who's really versatile on the small forward. Wilson Chandler, he's my guy. I think he'd be a good fit. And why I want him is because our backcourt, we give DeMar DeRozan the ball a lot. We've seen with James Johnson in the starting lineup, there needs to be a 3-point shooter at the other wing spot, or the spacing it just doesn't work. So Chandler, he could hit the 3, he could play defense, he could handle the ball pretty well, do a bit of everything. I think he'd be a good fit with the backcourt at the end. But then with JV, we know there are holes in JV's game. He's not much of a jump shooter. He'll never be a 3-point shooter, obviously. He's learning to pass. I like that. But what I want in a power forward is a guy who, not necessarily a stretch 4 who's hitting threes. Paul Millsap would be my dream, but that's not happening. But I would like to see a guy who could hit, a mid-range jump shot and is a good passer. And I think the passing is the most important part. And that's why I think Amir Johnson is a pretty good complement. He's great defensively, could rebound, and Amir is a good passer, and he has a good IQ.
But he's becoming worse defensively and a worse rebounder with every passing game.
That's exactly it. So we got to find a new guy. The question is, who is that new guy? We've talked about Greg Monroe a lot, and Greg Monroe, he could be that guy. Again, there are flaws in his game. He's not a good defender, and we don't know if he'll ever be. But he is a great passing big man, and that's what JV needs. He needs right now to be set up correctly in the post. He has a few moves, and he's a good scorer, but I would love to see a great high-low post game between
the Memphis Grizzlies model.
Memphis Grizzlies model. That's what I want to see. So a guy like Greg Monroe, if we could get him for less than $15 million a year, cross my fingers, I like that.
So you say build around JV by having a good 4, a passing 4,
I want both.
A smart 4.
I want, a smart 4 who, could set up the ball, make plays. It's important to have a guy at the high post. You could give him the ball. He could either get closer and then set up JV, or set up a guy like DeMar, who's probably going to cut across him, as he does probably 30 times a game. I think that's a really important part. I think those are two guys that we really got to focus on getting. The biggest constraint of that is money. Greg Monroe is going to go this offseason for definitely at least $12 million.
He's damn near a max guy.
Yeah, he's damn near a max guy. He's playing unbelievable in the second half of the offseason. Wilson Chandler, I think he could be had. I think we could get him for the right price. Denver is going in a different direction. They just fired their coach. I think we could get him, especially with the Masai Ujiri connection. So that's what I want to see. Let's talk about the King of the North.
The King
of the North!
In the North!
The King in the North! The King in the North! The King in the North! The King in the North! The King in the North!
So who's the King of the North, Jacoby?
My King of the North this week is Terrence Ross. I know he's had it hard from Dwayne Casey, his lack of experience and his bad decision-making, defense, all these things that Dwayne Casey looks really highly upon. Most of them are lacking in Terrence Ross's game right now, but I thought the last couple of games he's been a bright spot in the Raptors. He was defending well, looked very focused. I heard Dwayne talk about him in an interview saying he was loving his focus and determination, and he just seems to be, coming more into his own every game. He's not forcing anything. He takes what comes to him. He's, he relies on his three-point shot, and he's really, he's looking like he's figuring it out a little bit more. So for defense, offense, focus, and just, staying steady through this streak, I give Terrence Ross my King in the North nod. Kyle?
I completely agree. He played very well this week, and I've criticized T. Ross for so many weeks now, but it's good to see that he could take it and deliver. I'm happy to see it. Well-deserved King of the North, Jacoby. I think you covered all the bases very well.
Woohoo!
So let's just finish up the show. So, Jacoby, as our fans probably know, we're on Reddit. Well, we post on Reddit. We're on YouTube. You probably are seeing us now. Tumblr. We're on Facebook. If you search up Rapscast, like our page, subscribe to us on YouTube.
And comment down below, guys. Do you have stuff to talk about? Shout out to Nice Kuma. Nice_Kuma. We appreciate the questions, man. All the love, all the listens. We love it. So thank you. Keep them coming.
Yeah, we love the comments. We really love getting questions of stuff to talk about because, we like to talk about Raptors between ourselves, but I really think that this is just a platform to talk about this with the community.
Absolutely.
Right? And just get a group of Raptors fans together and just talk about the team that we love, right?
That's exactly right.
That's
I couldn't have said it any better.
So, yeah, that's it. That's Rapscast. I'm really sick. Sorry if there's going to be a lot of coughing in this.
Check back next week to us, guys. I'll
be
keep
healthier.
coming. Yes. Take care.